Hey, what's up, YouTube? This is what did we do last time for Mr. Gunther's English 1010 class, Wednesday, December 4th, and Thursday, December 5th, 2019. If you weren't here last time, we started off with the 14 journal. It's been a long time since we've had a journal. The 14 journal asks you why you picked your topic, how confident you feel about your topic, and what, if any, other topics you considered. Right now, it's not too late to change your topic yet if you're feeling uncertain about it. But the closer we get to the end of the unit, obviously the harder it is. So right now, it's still okay to change your topic. Come talk to me if you have questions or concerns about your topics, but you're not married to it yet. So if you've made your topic and you don't feel good about it, or you're not finding enough stuff, come talk to me. We'll figure it out. After the little journal, I did an introduction to research. I might make a different YouTube video where I have a web browser and I walk you through how I do the research. That's what I did in class today, is I projected on the screen my computer so people could see how I researched. I'll talk you through it really quick, and if you really want a video showing you how I research with the screen, put it in the comments below. So the first thing you do when you're researching is, I call it a relevancy research. Relevance means why does it matter now? Why does it matter to you or to anyone right now? So the first thing you do is you open up a web browser, you go to Google, you type in a couple key search terms for your topic. Be creative with your search terms. If you're doing physical therapy, yeah, use physical therapy, but also try different phrases too. Physical therapy techniques, physical therapy benefits, physical therapy qualifications. Try different search terms. Try different words that mean the same thing. So type that into Google, and here's my favorite trick. Go to Google News. You know how you can click Google Images and you could just search images? Well, you can do that with news. So all that will pull up is news articles on your topic. Then on the right-hand side, click Tools and change it so it says like past year. That way you're only finding recent articles within the past year about your topic from news websites. That will help you figure out why your topic's relevant. Now, don't be too married to your proposal. Your proposal maybe talked about, in one class we talked about hunting, and maybe you thought you were going to talk about deer hunting, but as you do a bunch of news searches, you see a bunch of shit about coyote. I probably shouldn't swear on this because your parents might see it. Oh well. So if you see a bunch of shit about coyotes, then maybe you start to follow that. Follow the path of least resistance. What are people talking about? Join that conversation. It's like when you enter the parlor, you're not going to try to change their conversation. Say, oh, you're talking about this. Let's talk about this instead. It doesn't work that way. Instead, what are they talking about? Join that conversation. And you can figure out what that conversation is by doing a relevancy search on Google News, especially if you limit it to the past year or two. I mean, it doesn't have to be just the last year. Be creative with that. Another thing you can do is go straight to news websites that you know and trust. I'll have a link here of the list of the sources that I like. So if I'm doing research, I'll go to the New York Times. I'll go to Washington Post, The Atlantic, the Salt Lake Tribune, Wired Magazine, Economist, Wall Street Journal, National Geographic. There's more. And each of these websites, news websites, will have like a little search icon, and you can search for articles just in that website. And that's a great trick to do as well for your relevancy research. And this is a way of finding out why your topic is interesting now. If you have a friend or you have a boss who's an expert in your field, student Kate works at a veterinary clinic. She is going to go talk to the vet and say, hey, what things are like interesting or new right now in the field? So use all the resources you have. I've had students just email University of Utah professors out of the blue and say, hey, I'm doing a topic on this. Can you help me, research topic on this? Can you help me out? And they just send them back tons of stuff. So use this relevancy research to help you refine your topic. Don't just say, I'm only going to talk about this, because then you'll get really sad and upset if you don't find something that's exactly what you want to say. Remember, the purpose of research isn't to prove what you already believe to be true. It's to figure out what people are actually saying. Sorry, my alarm's going off. And to join that conversation. If you're just trying to prove what you already believe, that's not research. That is confirmation bias, and that's actually unethical and immoral. So after you do your relevancy research, it's time to do academic/scholarly research. What does scholarly mean? I'm so glad you asked that. I'll use the word scholarly and academic interchangeably. So if I use one instead of the other, no, I'm just talking about the same thing. Scholarly research means you are trying to find experts talking about it. So no matter what your topic is, I don't care if it's the history of toothpicks or if it's physical therapy or it's, I don't know, what kind of picture frames are best for pictures of Star Trek characters, I don't know. But whatever your topic is, there's going to be experts out there talking about it. They might not be talking about it exactly how you want, but there are people out there who make a living, who have PhDs, and they work at universities, and all they do all day long is write and read about that thing. So what we want to find is experts talking about it. I'm a big believer in experts. These are people who have dedicated their lives to it. If you need to go get your broken leg fixed, you're not just going to find some random person on Reddit to fix it for you. You want to find somebody who's a doctor. Same thing with all your research. If you want to learn about global warming, you don't just go to your Uncle Steve, you go to climate scientists. So that's what academic research is, stuff written by experts. But listen. It's not just stuff written by experts, because an expert in geophysics, they could write a kid's book, right? Doesn't mean just because they're an expert doesn't mean they only write expert stuff. So if you're an expert in nuclear physics, you could write an article in the New Era, right? So it's not just written by experts, it's written by experts for experts. Make sense? So experts talking to other experts. And a lot of that stuff's going to go over your head, but usually you can figure out what they're talking about because they'll be an abstract and they try to make it more clear for you. There's one more thing. You might see the phrase peer-reviewed come up on some stuff that we're doing. Peer-reviewed, it's similar to what we do when we do peer review, except for, actually, it's not similar at all. Sorry. But think about what peer means. Are you guys my peers? No, you're not. You're stupid kids. You guys are each other's peers. My peers are other teachers, right? So if I was going to peer review a lesson plan that I wrote, I wouldn't show it to you students. I mean, I could get interesting feedback by asking you, but that wouldn't be from my peers. If I wanted a review of my lesson from peers, I'd go ask other teachers, right? So peer-reviewed means experts go ask other experts to review what they're writing. Now, the other experts aren't going to agree with it all the time, but they'll say, yeah, this looks like it's solid. I might disagree with it here or there, but it's solid. There's nothing in this that is just completely wrong. So peer-reviewed means other experts review it and say, hey, this looks like it's legit. So how do you find scholarly peer-reviewed articles? I'm so glad you asked. I'll have more information here. I'll just tell you what you got to do. You got to go to the library webpage. You got to go to the media center. You got to click some things until you find Utah's online library. Then you got to find EBSCO High School. Then you got to find Academic Search Premier. When you find that, you click Scholarly. Once you click that, you can search whatever you want for in there and it will pull stuff up. That's kind of confusing. I'm going to have to post another video how to do that. All right, so now you are researching. Remember, all research is listening. You want to hear what people are saying about your topic. You're not going to go into this saying I want to prove that physical therapy is good. That's probably not the conversation physical therapists are having with each other. Does that make sense? Other physical therapists aren't going to sit in the room together and say, let's talk about how physical therapy is real, right? Like doctors who cure cancer don't sit in the room and talk about how cancer is bad. They all know it's bad. The conversation's beyond that. Now, right now, as you're beginning your research, chances are you might not know what that conversation is. That's what research is for. You figure out and you listen. Okay, next up, you have to write an annotated bibliography. Big words, right? A bibliography is like a works cited page. It's just a list of your sources. An annotated bibliography means that you write a summary of each of those sources. So, listen up. Again, I'll have a link in the bio, but if you like hearing me talk, keep listening. Listen, your bibliography must be in MLA format. There's examples. You need 12 sources total in your annotated bibliography. Now, it's easy to find 12 sources, but your annotated bibliography needs to have 12 good sources. Keyword, good sources. Yeah, you could just fart around on the internet and find 12 sources. That's not hard, but you want to find 12 sources that you could actually maybe use in your essay. So if you cut corners on this, your essay will really suffer as a result. So don't rush it and just find your first 12 sources. So 12 sources total. Listen, 4 of the sources need to be scholarly from the library databases. There's other ways to find scholarly sources, but the library databases for you are probably the easiest. 4 must be scholarly. 6 must be directly engaged in a conversation with each other. Let me say that again. 6 of the sources must be talking to each other about the same thing, right? So let's say, I got to think of a topic off the top of my head. This is hard. Let's say you're talking about like the best way to make a guitar, okay? So you have a bunch of sources and maybe 6 of them are actually saying, hey, this is a better way. Hey, this is a better way. But for you to write your essay, you might need other information that's not in that conversation, like history of guitar making. And those articles about the history of guitar making might not be saying, here's the best way to make it. But you're going to use that stuff to inform and give you knowledge and background information. So 6 of your sources are actually talking with each other. The other 6 can be more background knowledge, right? Like if you're researching coyotes, you might need a history of like their genealogy. That doesn't make sense. Like an evolutionary understanding of them, but that might not actually relate to hunting. That's a bad example. If I were not lazy, I would edit that out. So 4 scholarly, 6 in a conversation. Now you can Venn diagram that however you want. Like it's entirely possible you could have 12 scholarly sources and all 12 of them could be talking to each other, or 2 and 4, or 1 and 5, whatever. Figure that out. So after your citation, which is just like where the article is, and we'll talk more about how to format it later. After your citation, for each article, I need a 4 to 8 sentence summary of the article. This summary must be in your own words. It's a weird rule for annotated bibliographies that you are not allowed to quote. Now you can quote in your essay, but you can't quote in your annotated bibliography. So for each of your 12 sources, you need that. Now, one more thing about this. If you have sources that are not from the library database or from my list of favorite sources, which is in the links, so you can use those sources. If you have a source that's not from the library database or not from my list, then you must include some sentences going over the crap checklist. And you've probably learned about that in other classes. If not, we'll go over it again. That's why it's 4 to 8 sentences. 4 sentences if it's a source from the library or from my list. 8 if you have to add things about the crap checklist. Okay. What else? Next class, turn in your first 4 sources for your annotated bibliography. Make sure that you actually do some summaries. Listen, kids, don't make this harder than it has to be. You don't have to read the entire article. Learn how to skim, learn how to get the gist of it. Now, go through it, but don't actually read it all the way through. But don't take that as me saying don't read it at all. Try to find that happy medium. Try to figure out what it's trying to say, then write summaries of it. For your first draft, I don't really care about the formatting. Just have your source, maybe a link to it, and then a short summary. And as we get closer to the final draft of your annotated bibliography, we will have more conversations about how to format it correctly. This annotated bibliography is not your final essay. Don't get confused about that. It's just a step towards your final essay. Also, you need to do a synthesis chart. You know how to do this already because we did it for the product review. It looks exactly the same. But the synthesis chart only has a place for 6 sources, but you need 12 sources in your annotated bibliography. Wait, what do? Listen. 6 sources are directly engaged in the conversation, and there are 6 places on your synthesis chart. The synthesis chart is for the 6 sources engaged in a conversation. That's what that means. All this stuff is due, when is it due? I don't remember, like the 12th or something? Does that make sense? Depending on your class, it's due a different day. And then we're gonna have a couple work days coming up. This video is way too long, so I'm gonna cut it off now. But come talk to me if you have any questions. I love you all so much.